Hey there, welcome to the weekly roundup. It is January 19th, 2024, our first of the year, and great to have you along. Let's jump straight into all the latest news from around Australia and the world, starting with Australia. And Jason Maloney still celebrating his 12-round decision over Saul Sanchez last week. He moved to 27-2. In defence of his WBO World Bantamweight title. Saul Sanchez dropped to 20-3. That was in Quebec City, Canada. Jason taking a few well-earned days off in Honolulu. Did message him briefly during the week, and he messaged back saying it's probably the sorest he's ever been after a fight. And that's probably to be expected after a war that it was. So all the best to Jason. Rumours are he'll be coming back in May on a big event in Perth that we'll get to in a second. But either way, a fantastic effort by Jason Maloney, and congratulations on defending that WBO belt. On the undercard, Rowan Murdoch, not so fortunate. He was stopped in the fifth round by Christian and Billy. For that was Rowan Murdoch's third defeat. He drops to 27-3. Christian and Billy 26-0 now with 22 knockouts. There are rumours that Billy will maybe in line for a shot at WBA regular super middleweight champion David Morrell Jr. next. Whether or not he's up for that remains to be seen. But a good opportunity for Christian and Billy with that win over Rowan Murdoch. On to the big news of the week following that weekend, though. It is the Perth event that I just spoke about. George Kambosos Jr. will fight Vasily Lomachenko for the vacant IBF World Lightweight title and also George's IBO Lightweight World title. That is on May 12th at the RAC Arena. What an event it should be. George Kambosos 20-1. Vasily Lomachenko 17-3. Always found it very interesting that Lomachenko's only had 20 fights in 10 years as a pro. So only averaging 2 fights a year, which is strange enough. Actually had a world title fight in his second pro fight, won the world title in his third pro fight, 3-time world champion or 3-division world champion. So an amazing achievement for the promoters to get him over here to fight George Kambosos in front of what will no doubt be a sellout crowd. Rumours are that the Maloney twins will be on the undercard. Andrew came back in December. Of course, we just mentioned Jason defending his title last week. And there's also rumours that maybe Alex Winwood will be on that card as well, amongst, I'm assuming, numerous others. So props to George Kambosos for his probably 4th, 5th massive fight in a row. They don't get much bigger than this. Arguably maybe Devin Haney, but the legend that is Vasily Lomachenko will be coming to Perth, Australia, to challenge George Kambosos for that IBF World Lightweight belt. Another big fight that might be on the horizon. Liam Wilson continues to take on some big challenges. He is rumoured to be fighting Oscar Valdez, the former 2-time world champion, on March 29th in Glendale, Arizona. Liam Wilson coming off that decision win over Jackson John England in December. Oscar Valdez hasn't fought since losing to Emmanuel Navarrete, but he has a 31-2 record. Liam Wilson with a 13-2 record should be a massive fight as well for Liam Wilson. He's looking to jump back into world title proceedings. Of course, he had that controversial fight with Navarrete last year. And full props again to Wilson and his team for taking on a very, very formidable opponent in the 2-time former world champion Oscar Valdez. Another Aussie that's making massive waves on the world front is our former World IBF Cruiserweight Champion Jai Opetaia. 24-0 is Jai Opetaia. He's going to be fighting Marius Brutus, the former champion, the IBF champion that he obviously dethroned on the Gold Coast in July last year. They'll fight the rematch on February 17 in Saudi Arabia on what looks like to being the main support fight for Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. What a stage to be on that will be for Jai. So strange enough, I'm sure everyone out there sort of realises what's happened so far. Jai was actually stripped of the IBF belt late last year for not fighting Brutus, and now he's going to be fighting for the vacant title against Brutus. It's all just a bit of a circus at the moment, but at the end of the day, no matter what's happened, the fact is that Jai will fight Brutus in the much anticipated rematch with that IBF belt on the line. So that is, again, as I said, a massive opportunity for Jai. And rumours are, speaking of Saudi Arabia, you're going to probably hear that a lot in this episode, by the way, but The Sheik over there has put out maybe that Jai will fight the Arta Betterbe and Dmitry Bivol winner later in the year if he wins this fight, of course, in defence of that cruiserweight title. So some big fights on the horizon for Jai Apatai, some massive opportunities for him, and let's hope that he can get the job done. Another Aussie that will be on the cards in Saudi Arabia, it won't be that one, it'll be a month later on March 8th, is Justice Haney. He'll be making his debut on these big shows in Saudi Arabia. He's 8-0, an opponent not finalised yet, but he will be on that card. That will be the Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou fight. I'll speak about that in a sec. But yeah, he will be on that card March 8th in Saudi Arabia, and looking to improve on that 8-0 record. Hasn't fought since I think it was late last year against, or mid-late last year against Andrew Tabiti. So big opportunity for Justice Haney. It's taken us a little while to get into it, but Tim Zooo, we've got to mention him. We seem to mention him every single episode. A little bit sort of going on ahead of him at the moment, but the news with Tim Zooo, some not so good and some potentially great news with Tim Zooo, who's 24-0. He won't be fighting on the NRL weekend. The NRL, the National Rugby League, that is, if you're not familiar with it, will be launching the season in Las Vegas in early March. Tim Zooo, they were trying to get on that same weekend to have a massive Aussie spin to the weekend, I suppose. So that will not be happening. But there are rumours just being floated subtly out there that he could be in line or in the eyes of Terence Crawford, the undisputed, formerly undisputed welterweight champion. The one of the belts obviously taken off him after the Spence win. But there are some murmurings that could be in his future. I'm not sure whether it'll be next. I'm pretty sure that Erickson Lubin will be the fighter they will choose in probably mid to late March for Tim Zooo. Hopefully it is in Las Vegas, and then potentially later in the year it could be Terence Crawford. And again, potentially in Saudi Arabia. I said I was going to mention it a few times, Saudi Arabia. Well, this is another one. Rumor, not necessarily rumours, but little jungle drums, I suppose, at the moment. You call them that. If the Zooo and Crawford fight, it could be in Saudi Arabia because the Arabs or the Sheik over there might be one of the only ones who can actually make it happen with the dollars. But we'll see. On to some more Aussie stuff, some local news. Connor Wallace will defend his IBF Pan Pacific Light Heavyweight title against Jack Gipp on March 17 at the Fortitude Music Hall in Brisbane. Connor Wallace 12-1, Jack Gipp 7-0. Gipp hasn't fought for 16 months, but he's a very, very good young talent. I was surprised that Connor Wallace has actually looked to take this fight on. As I said there, Jack Gipp only 7-0. Connor Wallace ranked by all 4 world organisations. So it's a risky fight for him. Maybe there's not any prospects out there for him as far as working his way up the ladder. So wants I won't say a tune-up fight, but maybe just a keep busy fight or continue up the ladder fight, whatever you want to call it. But as I said, it is a risky fight. Gipp, again, hasn't fought for 16 months. Wallace is coming off a 6-round stoppage of Mosey Amatagi Jr. in December. So he's been pretty active, while Gipp hasn't been very busy of late. But I think that will be a very, very good fight. If not familiar with Jack Gipp, a very, very decorated amateur fighter and can fight. So I think that is a real test for Connor Wallace. Has got the experience, but as I said, again, a really, really good fight up there in Brisbane. Also on that card, Jake Wiley will fight Ashley Houston for the Australasian Super Lightweight title. And also on that card will be Clay Waterman and Austin Kuso. So if you're up that way, make sure you get there, support it at the Fortitude Music Hall. In Adelaide, Joel Cameri will take on Joel Pavlidis on April the 3rd. So Cameri 27-8-1, Pavlidis 5-2-1. It's a bit of a strange location. Is in Adelaide. I'm not quite sure who the promoters are, but I'm not sure they've had a professional show since 2017 when Danny Green beat Anthony Mundine. But hey, it's great to have boxing all over our wonderful country, and welcome to the party, Adelaide. Now, also on that show will be Benjamin Bomber, who makes his return after being bombed out, excuse the pun, by Nikita Zooo last year. So that should be a pretty good card. I'll update the card in future weeks, but really good to see a fight card in Adelaide. And just with Joel Camilleri, he's looking for big things this year. He's just enlisted a new trainer. I've lost count with the amount of trainers that Joel's had, but I can't remember his exact name. I'm sorry, but he's from Ireland. Good pedigree, and Joel always does his due diligence when picking his team, so I'm sure he will be well up to speed. And Joel Pavlidis, from up north in Queensland with the Brendan Smith team. He'll come to fight. Had a great upset in his last fight, so I'm sure he will give Joel Cameri all he can handle. But again, great to see boxing and a good fight in Adelaide. Back up in Queensland, Dana Coolwell will fight Filipino Fernand Tagpuno Jr. on March 23rd. Dana Coolwell 12-2. Tagpuno Jr. is 7-2, so that should be a good show up there. I think it's the punch for pay, I think the promoters are. So if you're up that way, check that one out. On the undercard, Deanna Hobbs will fight Tawana Campbell over 10 rounds at super featherweight, so that should be a good fight as well. And another Aussie female, this time Taylor Robinson, will fight Mexican Gloria Gallardo on March 27th in Brisbane as part of the Ace Boxing Show for the IBO World Super Flyweight title. Taylor Robinson 9-1, Gloria Gallardo 14-2. So a really, really good opportunity for Taylor Robinson. Gallardo, tough and hard as they all are out of Mexico, but a good opportunity for her to grab that IBO Super Flyweight belt, and who knows what might happen after that. And one last thing on the Aussie scene, Stevie Spark, everyone's second favourite fighter, if not first favourite fighter, but he's loved by everyone across the country and some across the world, of course. Has retired surprisingly with a 16-3 record. Hasn't fought since last year, fighting on the Canelo Ryder undercard in Mexico City, where he lost a very controversial 10-round decision against Gabriel Valenzuela. So all the best to Stevie Spark in retirement. He did say that injuries and a few other bits and pieces had brought him to this decision. I can understand it. So all the best to Stevie Spark, and I'm sure you will make it either as a trainer or commentator or whatever it might be. So keep a lookout still for Stevie Spark. I don't think he'll be lost to Australian boxing, put it that way. On to the world scene. Last weekend, the main event of the Maloney and Murdoch Aussie part of the card was Betterbe, of course, with a 7th round stoppage of Callum Smith in defence of his world light heavyweight title. Well, WBO, WBC and IBF versions. He moved to 20-0. Callum Smith dropped to 29-2. Was a little bit of controversy about it. Betterbe returned an atypical blood test, result in his blood test, so nothing came of it, but I'm not quite sure what atypical means, so I can't really go into it too much, but all was cleared afterwards. A little bit of controversy afterwards. Liam Smith, Callum Smith's brother, had a little bit to say about it, but I'm not sure anything will come of it. I think Betterbe, I don't think there was anything found in the blood. I'm trying to sort of read between the lines of what atypical is. I just think it was elevated testosterone or something, and that could be caused apparently by a wide array of things. So we'll keep a lookout on that one. The Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk fight is only a month away. It's February 17 in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia undercard starting to take shape. Joe Cordina will fight Anthony Casasi for the IBF and IBO Super Featherweight title on the undercard. Cordina 17-0. Casasi is 21-1. Also on that card, Sergey Kovalev, 40 years of age, will make a comeback against Robin Sirwan Safar. He's a Swedish up-and-comer with a 16-0 record. And also New Zealand's David Nyika, who's 8-0, will also be on that card. So it's great to see Aussies and Kiwis getting opportunities in Saudi Arabia, and I'm sure it's just going to get better for these guys. And not just the Aussies and Kiwis, but fighters from all over the world. Big fights getting made because the Saudis are putting up the big dollars to make it happen. So that should be a great card. Really looking forward to that one. Another one only 3 weeks later, Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou will fight in Saudi Arabia. That's not for any title, but I think the winner will get or crack at the Fury Usyk winner later on in the year. So massive stakes there. And on that undercard, I'm really looking forward to this one. Joseph Parker will back up his win over Deontay Wilder with a fight against a very, very dangerous Zhilei Zhang. Zhang, of course, coming off a couple of knockouts of Joe Joyce. So really, really good fight. Joseph Parker 34-3, former world champion. And I'm looking forward to that. Probably a little bit more than the main event, if I've got to be honest. Also on the undercard of that will be Ray Vargas and Nick Ball for the WBC featherweight title. Still on Saudi Arabia. It's being mentioned a few times, and we've got a couple more to go there. There has been a deal done between Matchroom Boxing and Queensbury Boxing. Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, a 5-5 from each stable in March at some stage, obviously after the Joshua Ngannou fight. I'm not quite sure who the fighters are going to be. There are there is word that they won't be the top line talent from each stable. Will probably be more the lesser lights and the uppercomers. But great if you're a British boxing fan, because most of the fighters on there will be British. Even though it is in Saudi Arabia. So who knows, start of some different things happening on the world scene, and the Saudis are really having a crack at getting these big fights together. One thing before we move on, I was rapt to hear that the Saudis have said, we are not interested in YouTuber fights. You forget that. And that was music to my ears, and I'm sure a lot of your ears out there as well. One last thing on Saudi Arabia. A big fight they're hoping to get planned for later, maybe in 2024, if they can make it happen, is Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis. One of the biggest fights to be made in the sport. And you'll probably say normally that's a tough fight to sell with the egos involved and the two teams very, very difficult, the money involved. But the Saudis have proven they can get it done with the heavyweights. And I think if they want to get this fight done, they will get it done. So let's hope later in 2024 we get that fight, Haney and Davis in Saudi Arabia, or just anywhere will do. But looks like it'll be Saudi. There has been some murmurings about Canelo Alvarez's fight in early May in Cinco de Mayo weekend. Jaime Munguia looks like he is the front runner. Of course, he's still got a fight against John Ryder coming up in Phoenix, Arizona. Munguia 42-0. He'll take on Ryder 32-6. Should get through that one. And looks like it will be Munguia Alvarez on Cinco de Mayo weekend. And maybe Alvarez Benavides in September. Let's keep the fingers crossed on that one. A couple of things for this weekend. We've got is the girls. Natasha Jonas 14-1. Will fight Michaela Mayer, former world champion, 19-1 in Liverpool, England, for the female IBF welterweight title. So if you can get that one, make sure you check it out. Should be a great fight. And one last thing before we go. Today is the birthday of Nikita Zooo. He turns 26 today. So all the best to Nikita Zooo. Can't wait to see you back in the ring, mate. It's going to be a big 2024 for you, and hope you have a great day. To all you fight fans out there, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great weekend watching the fights and anything else you might be doing, and we'll catch you next week.